What is up, everybody? Welcome. Another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on Rotogrinders and on our YouTube channel. Happy to have you all joining us as we talk golf. Another week in the books last week with a crazy Wyndham Championship where everybody in the field except Russell Henley made the playoff. It seemed like there on Sunday. What a crazy tournament. Adam Scott missed a 4-footer on the first playoff hole, so no victory for him. And Kevin Kisner made a 4-foot birdie putt on the second playoff hole. So Kisner, after finishing basically at the bottom 2 weeks ago, wins the tournament the following week. So pretty interesting week. No shortage of storylines. Henley with kind of a disaster, if you want to call it that, Sunday. Couldn't hold on to that 4 or 5 shot lead that he had there at one point on Saturday. And eventually everybody else just kind of came up in the mix, and we had for sure the largest playoff I've ever seen at a PGA Tour event. I know Noto, Derek Farnsworth, who joins us. I, of course, am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84, the host as usual. 2 guests with me tonight. Usual co-host, Mr. Noto on one side. I know he tweeted about the big playoff. They had the different colors going there on the live shot tracker, the pinks and the purples that we haven't seen before. So yeah, it was pretty wild last week.
Yeah, I noticed the new colors as well. Kind of like it. But yeah, cool playoff. I mean, we've been spoiled with some playoffs this year. We had the one with English and Jordan Spieth's roommate from college that lasted like 12 holes or whatever, and then the bronze medal playoff that with like 6 or 7 guys, and now this one. So yeah, it's kind of, some years you don't get a lot of playoffs, some years you do. Weird week for me. Woke up to Norlander WD. I didn't wake up to check the news before lock, and he was in my main lineup, so I was pretty bummed about that. And then had outrights and top fives on Henley and Streelman, who both bogeyed 18 to fall outside of the top 5 and missed the playoffs. So that was frustrating. Somehow ended up being a really profitable week because I tilt entered showdown and got lucky. So overall, good week, I guess.
Just the process, the way you draw it up, right? Yeah. Always wake up to check those tee times. Always. That was the first week in, I'd say, maybe 3 years that it paid off for me. I did have Norlander in my... Norlander was our guest, the golfer, last week on this very show, our favorite value. And so how I do it is I usually just wake up and groggily pull up the leaderboard, and I star all my golfers in my player pool the night before, and then I just count them twice and make sure that the number matches the number of golfers I have in lineup HQ. And I counted twice, and I was 1 short both times. I'm like, all right, I just must not be awake enough. And then I pulled up the Twitter, and sure enough, Norlander had withdrawn. And then usually I just check it and go back to sleep. But at that point, I had to make a bunch of changes and replace them in my player pool, and then I was up. So first time in about 3 years it's paid off, but it paid off last week. Not that I won anything big, but got out of the zeros anyway. So special guest tonight, we've got Matthew Wiley with us, and you might recognize him from before. In fact, I believe last week or the week prior, we erroneously sent out a tweet that Wiley was going to be joining us, and somebody said they watched the whole show in a waste because Wiley wasn't on. Made me feel real good. But that's okay. We have Wiley here with us this week. So hopefully our guest viewer will be happy. So Wiley, what's going on?
That was just a stalker. Don't worry about it.
All good.
I think I know who it is. It's
I won't call anybody out by name.
I won't either. I'm fine. I mean, last week was okay. I've concluded that I'm the worst single entry full tournament player in the history of golf. I want to do everything showdown now. It's the only way I make money. Friday, Saturday showdown. I was so tilted because the Gooch people convinced me to play Gooch, and I played him like 30%. I played Lebiota on my own about that rate, but Gooch really killed me. So I jumped into NASCAR, which for anyone who's on tilt, never play NASCAR. You will fail miserably. One guy who's a very good, strong player in NASCAR, and I'm going to waste some time here on this, but he said, I've never seen a guy, me, have 4 of 6 of his drivers wreck on like the first turn. So just let me be your NASCAR tout.
Sounds awesome. I can't do the NASCAR. I'm not good at it. It's frustrating because nothing really matters until like the last 5 laps, unless your guys rock on the first lap. In which case, it just feels like you're trying to avoid disaster, and then in the last lap, you might get the disaster anyway. And it just it hasn't worked for me, but it does for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are really profitable with it. Stevie does a great job here with his NASCAR package, but it hasn't worked for me in the past. And I guess I could blame variance and keep playing, but I suppose it's not that much more frustrating than golf, but I'm used to the golf sweats, I suppose. But well, anyway, welcome, Wiley. Welcome again. And look forward to breaking down this week's tournament as the FedEx Cup playoff events start this week. So we'll dig into that shortly. Noto, any takeaways from last week for you other than the massive playoff?
So many short missed putts. Henley missed a 1-footer, I believe. I think it was 18 inches. I had to go back and watch the highlight. And if that thing didn't hit the cup, it was going off the green. I mean, he hammered 18-inch putt, and then he missed a 3-foot putt on 18. We saw Adam Scott miss a 4-foot putt to win in the first playoff hole. And then, Kisner got it done. So, it was a fun tournament. I always liked the Wyndham. I thought the winning score would be a lot lower. Henley was 14 under after Friday, I believe. So for the score to be 15 under was kind of crazy.
Yeah, it had been like 20 or 21 under par for each of the last 4 years. So everyone just kind of stalled out around that number, and that's how you get a 6 golfer playoff. That could have been an 8 golfer playoff, if not for Henley and Streelman, who Noto mentioned earlier. So Wiley, anything else from last week that you want to mention before we move on?
I mean, the only thing I would say is that I limit so much now the amount of information I intake, and even recent form, right? If you look at the previous week in Memphis, Siwoo Kim and Kevin Kisner were about a combined 23 over. The next week they're 1-1 in the playoff. So, recent form, how much do you weight that? How much do you weight guys who can perhaps flip the entire script the next week? You don't know. And I've got a guy who no one likes that I'm going to talk about here shortly.
All right, that's a tease, and we'll find out who that is as we go. And so we'll set the stage here. It's the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and as Wiley tweeted out yesterday, I believe, the most hated course on the PGA Tour by a lot of guys, with Liberty National hosting this week. Hasn't hosted often, but last in 2019 and then 2013 before that. I believe, but lots of negative press from a lot of the players about the venue this week. So
can I mention that, because it was an article that came out in 2012 by Jeff Shackelford. The PGA Player Survey is one of my favorite things to read because it's authentic, objective content from players, and the sort of the real stuff they say behind the scenes. And unanimously, number one most hated tournament, of course, was Liberty National. And the comments were amazing. Like, I wish they would have just left it a dump, or if it wasn't for the views, it would be a 0, or I can't believe we came back here. And so it's intriguing to me that the players think that way about this course, and it consistently was number 1 worst PGA Tour stop, and they're here now. No slight to New Jersey, by the way.
Yeah, it is. The quotes from that are pretty alarming. So, but hey, it's not like, everyone can just skip out on the event and move on to the next, because they suck you in and make it a playoff event. So if you're not securely in the top 30, you're playing. So We've got 125 golfers qualified for the event and 124 participating. Louis Oosthuizen is sitting this one out, so he will be the only qualified member that will not get to play. There was some shuffling in the standings with the old 125 cutoff last week. Let's see. I had that list here. So it was Ryan Armour, Patrick Rogers, and Bo Hogue that fell out, and Chesson Hadley, Scott Piercy, and Roger Sloan that got in. Hogue had a double bogey on, I believe, his second to last hole or third to last hole to miss the cut that knocked him out. So those are the breaks. The full season comes down to the last few holes and miss the playoffs. So anyway, 124 golfers in the field this week. Noto, can you tell us about why everybody hates this course?
Yeah, chat's cracking me up right now. But anyway, yeah, it's Liberty.
I haven't been looking. Now I got to go look. All right. I apologize. I'm going to be distracted for a minute.
Liberty National, 7,400 yards, par 71. I wouldn't put too much stock into course history. I mean, we've seen it 2019 playoff event, 2013, 2009, and then the President's Cup 2017. But I mean, pretty long off the tee, even par adjusted, it's pretty long. Water hazards in play on about half the holes. A lot of bunkers. There is deep fescue if you miss by too much, and the greens are really small. So I think it's going to result in, good total driving, iron play, and then a lot of people are going to be missing these greens. So you want to be able to get up and down. I'm willing to target some bad putters this week, just because I think it's one of those weeks where you're just going to have to be good tee to green and kind of take your chances on the green. And yeah, I mean, reading through the player quotes, I think PGA Splits tweeted them out earlier today. A lot of golfers were saying they want to be more aggressive off the tee, and then others said that they were going to be less aggressive. So that didn't help me one bit. And yeah, I don't really know what to look for. Just looking for good ball strikers that aren't terrible around the green.
Yeah, the caught up on the chat. I'm fully convinced. I wait for Wiley to show up one week with the Chucky doll sitting on the ladder back there. Feel like that could make it, could make the scene complete. But we don't think he's being held hostage right now. But we'll monitor the situation. Anyway, not a lot of course history to go off of. So if you are a big fan of course history, obviously. Don't look at this event as a whole. You'd only be able to look at 2019 and the 2013 Barclays was the previous time this was used, which was when that the aforementioned article that Matthew mentioned came out. So don't look at the Northern Trust history. That will encompass 4 or 5 different courses that have been used for this event over the last few years. Wiley, anything else to add on the course before we start digging in?
No, but if you look at golf betting system, Steve Bamford and his crew really put a good breakdown of the course every week. And they also referenced some quotes from previous years of guys who were in the mix. And consistently it was, listen, this is a course that is extremely tough to get up and down from when you miss the green. And the greens are tricky in terms of putting. And I think Webb Simpson likened it to Pinehurst. He grew up on greens that were really undulating. So it's tough. And then you look at guys who've had success here, like Reed, guys who have great hands, great putters, great around the green game. And that's, listen, it's always the best golfers that win every week. But I think that that's something you could probably focus on with you have sub 5,000 square foot greens this week, and you're going to have trouble getting up and down. You have to make some tough putts. And what's the score going to be under par? Noto, like what? -14? I don't know. It's not going to be crazy.
Yeah, mid-teens, I think.
Yeah, I think mid-teens makes sense. It did score a little better the last time. I think the cut was 1 under, and the winning score was -16. So,
but if you also saw Brooks Koepka today in Xander and some of their on their practice round, the wind is whipping out there. I mean, you're Oceanside, and the wind is a huge factor as well. Plus the smell of a dump. It's built on a dump. Yeah. Sorry, New Jersey.
Sorry. Let's see. It's a little bit early, but I was gonna take a look at what the early wind forecast is for the tournament. It's Thursday, it says heavy rain, so that's exciting. Sounds like a good start. Potentially 3/4 of an inch of rain, so could soften up the course a bit with kind of moderate winds. So hard to say, and they can change in an instant there on the coast too. So definitely something to follow up on and look back before lock on Thursday. A little too early to make any definitive conclusions on it yet. So, all right, let's go ahead and start digging in. Mentioned 124 golfers, and it's the top 100, 124 of the top 125 in the standings. So no shortage of options to look at this week. I'll let Noto start with the 10K plus golfers, which there are 7 on DraftKings this week. And he's tagged up Spieth, so he's going to have to sell me on that. He mentioned earlier on Twitter, Noto, that I would be in agreement. So I'm probably not going to be, but you can try to sell me on Spieth. We've also got Rory, Koepka, Morikawa, Schauffele, DJ, John Rahm. So the usual suspects at the top here this week.
Yeah, I mean, Rahm at the top, it's hard to say anything bad about him. He deserves to be the top overall play. 3rd here in 2019. Been playing great. Rarely finishes outside of the top 10. So I have no issue starting with Rahm. I like Spieth a little bit more. He's been one of the best golfers pretty much since February. Top 20 in 9 of his last 10 starts. His approach game has been awesome. His off the tee, he's fixed that for the longest time. You know, he was just wild off the tee. We know he loves bent grass greens. We know he's great hands around the green, like Wiley mentioned, similar to Patrick Reed. And he's played well here in the past. So I really like Spieth. And then the other guy up here that I like is Rory McIlroy. This is cheaper than we've seen him in a while. I like him kind of as an outright bet too. Seems like a lot of people around the industry kind of are tailing him right now. But anyway, last 5 events, ball striking, +12, +8, +4, +5, +8. So the ball striking's been there. He just needs to have a good putting week. And I kind of think he'll be in contention. Nothing bad to say about anyone else. DJ's just been a little bit off. Xander, I feel like this is a good course for him, but I don't know where his game's at after his win at the Olympics. He looked okay at the WGC, but nothing special. Morikawa, I've always seemed to be underweight on him, and it burns me like 6 times a year, so I should probably stop doing that. And then Brooks, I mean, so much going on with Brooks. He's got that left-hand matchup with the Barstool guy coming up. I just don't know how much this means to him right now.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on, that's for sure. His beef with Bryson and plenty of things on the bucket list, the honeydew list for Brooks right now. But he seems to have the upper hand in the Brooks versus Bryson matchup these days, especially in the media, since the media doesn't seem to like Bryson right now. But that's another story. Wiley, your thoughts on the top?
Okay, so here's the thing. Like, I like Spieth. He's 15% projected, at least on Rotogrinders.
He's a what now?
15.
Oh, I thought you said 52.
Well, maybe 50 now. I don't know. 15
Yeah.
might as well be 50. Rahm 20%. Morikawa, I agree. I never think to play him. He's like Xander to me, or Scheffler. Rory is 17%. Get behind that. What is going on in the industry now that people are playing Rory at 17%? And then skipping DJ. I posted DJ's projected sub 10%. DJ is won the Northern Trust 3 times, albeit different courses. But if you remember 2017, when he was in the playoff with Spieth, one of the most memorable moments in golf, when he absolutely stepped on Spieth's neck in the playoff and took this line off the tee that no one had taken all week. Dustin Johnson is a killer. And you talk about wind play, you talk about, length off the tee, which you need here. You talk about elite wedge player. And what Paul Casey said about him this week. This is what Paul Casey said about Dustin Johnson. He's so golf savvy. He doesn't get enough credit for that. He understands spin rates, yardages, fades, draws. His golf craft, this is from Paul Casey. His golf craft is just sublime. When he's in full flow, he's ruthless. He's top 10 and I think his form is the thing that's, keeping people away because he's not winning week to week. But you get sub 10% DJ in the playoffs at Northern Trust at a course that he could dominate. That makes no sense to me. Well, it makes sense to me, but That's the guy. He's 25-1 or 23-1 right now.
I mean, the odds aren't all that different on a lot of those guys, right? They're all in the 20s.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull those up here on DraftKings quick.
The odds between DraftKings and FanDuel are really different this week.
Really, Rama's 8, Speed is 12, Morikawa and DJ are both at 16 on DK right now. Schauffele is 18, Rory 22, Brooks 22, Thomas and Bryson at 25. So I think maybe they've started to come together a little bit here as we get closer and pull up FanDuel too and see what the biggest differences are, at least on those top guys. So DK has Rum at 8, FanDuel has him at 9, Morikawa is 18, Spieth is the biggest difference. He is at 12 on DK and 18 on FanDuel. Let's see, Schauffele is 22 on FanDuel and 18 on DK. Basically, you're getting better odds on the top guys on FanDuel with a lot of them. Rory's a little shorter over on FanDuel, but anyway, I think anybody from this group that isn't going to carry a ton of ownership is interesting because they're all capable of winning. Like Schauffele is the lowest owned of the bunch. You can make the same argument for him like you did. Wiley put out a good case for DJ there too. So I just, once the ball striking starts to come around, all the Rory truthers start coming back, and I'm admittedly kind of in that boat myself. So, but I get it with him being basically the highest owned of the group there with Spieth and Rahm. If you're not into Rory, I understand the logic behind it. So, Noto, any follow up from you after that?
No, the DJ case is certainly interesting. So I might have to add him back in the player pool. He does say that his game's been in a lot better form than the results as well. So, yeah, I kind of like that take. I like the low ownership. And then, yeah, definitely going to be overweight on Spieth and Rory if I can.
All right, let's go ahead and move into the 9Ks. I will give Wiley the first crack at this. So we've got basically ownership isn't going to be a huge deal here because we got ownership that's going to be spread out.
Right.
Like Berger is going to carry some ownership. Scheffler's been playing really well. He's my favorite. Top 20s in all the majors this year. Cantlay, at least has picked up some form after that rough stretch in the late spring, early summer. Hovland, Answer, recent winner. All those guys are basically going to be in the teens in terms of ownership. Bryson is the only one that's really coming in without much ownership with his, disdain for talking to the media right now and kind of the way he blew up there at the end a couple weeks ago with a chance to win. So that narrative's kind of got everybody off of Bryson. Everybody else in the 9Ks is probably going to be in that 10, 12, 14, 15% ownership range. So Wiley, who are you liking the most in here?
I like Berger until he was the second highest, I think, owned player projected. Cantlay burned me so badly a couple of weeks ago. I may be divorcing him right now. I was really surprised by Victor Hovland at 10% projected. I think a safe play, a guy who, is going to hit fairways with length, will not miss a ton of greens. Victor Hovland at that projected is good. He's probably my favorite play. I don't play Scheffler a lot, especially not that ownership. Bryson's ownership is insanely low. I may have to look at that. Justin Thomas, though, is sort of the flavor, like Rory, is the flavor of the week, it seems, on DFS Twitter. And I don't know what's changed about Justin Thomas over the last few weeks.
I'll tell you.
He's not been great. I mean, he used to dominate when he was winning in so many bunches a few years ago. He was making everything, it seemed, putting within 10 feet. And I know he lips out a lot, and I know he's a lot of, somewhat mistakes, not mistakes, but just, bad luck, bad fortune putting. But it hasn't been great. It's like Ricky Fowler. That's what fell apart about his game. I can't get behind Justin Thomas at that price.
Go ahead, Noto.
Yeah, I fall into the same trap as everyone else. You see him in 9,800, and you just usually see him in the 10Ks, and it just feels like it's a good deal. And then you see the low ownership, and then you say, oh, he can have a good putting week, and he never does. And I fall for it every time. So I think it's just one of those things where you see the discounted price, and then you just kind of naturally assume he can get better at putting, and it just never happens.
Or I think the one week where he did bring the putter, the irons fell off a little bit that week. So he just hasn't been able to put everything together in the same week for a while now. So I don't have a strong take on Thomas this week. I think he's fine. But I don't know. The ownership always ends up coming in maybe just a little bit higher too than what a lot of people might think. But
I think the key factor this week is that you have to drive the ball really well this week. And that sometimes gets away from Justin Thomas. He's an amazing iron player.
Yeah.
But he can be pretty wild off the tee at times. And so
when you combine that with the putting struggles, it's needs a lot of things to go his way, and it hasn't been happening lately. So but you just you wait for it, and the iron play can be so good that it's easy to get pulled back in. Noto, what do you think about the 9Ks here outside of Thomas there?
Yeah, I mean, to Wiley's point on JT, good drive percentage. He has the second worst above 9K in the field. So first is speed. So that makes me feel good too. But other guys I like in the 9Ks, I like the Hovland call. Low ownership on him always makes sense because we never get it. I mean, typically he's locked into 20% ownership. I'm not sure.
What do you think is going on there? Is it just you think it's a mistake by your team, or what's going on here?
I don't know. I think everyone wants to play Berger just because he's like the guy that pops in the models. And then Scheffler's been on such a good run. I think everyone's just gravitating towards the lower 9Ks, which is fine by me. Yeah, I don't love Berger this week. Historically, if you look at his baseline, he's much better on shorter courses than longer courses, much better on Bermuda than he is on bent grass. So I'm okay being underweight on him. I like the Scheffler call, though. You mentioned top 20 in all the majors, Justin. He's been top 20 in the last 9 majors and WGCs. Every big event he's just shown up for, which is pretty crazy. And then Answer coming off the win. I don't know. I never know what to do with guys coming off the win. I saw in the Barstool interview today, he said he hadn't picked up a club since his win. So that was, 9 days ago. That worries me a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, he could easily pick up where he left off. And then the guy at the very bottom, I don't mind Hideki Matsuyama. If you want to take a guy that's great tee to green, great short game, you just can't putt. Last week he missed the cut, but I think he gained like 3 or 4 strokes ball striking. So I don't mind going back to Hideki at 7%.
All right. Yeah, I mean, certainly guys that could win the tournament in that range. I mean, you're still talking about, Hovland 30-1, Cantlay 30-1, Casey 30-1, Webb 35, Matsuyama even is 40. So lots of pretty good golfers in this range. And I mean, even going down to the 8Ks, you got Casey in there. Harris English had a chance to win a few weeks ago. Patrick Reed has had success here in the past at 8,600, though I never get him right. So I can just go ahead and cross him off this week. That way all of you can win because it's a community game, and you gotta give to the people. So I never get Reed right. For those of you who might be new viewers, Wiley's fans that are watching for him, I never get Reed right. So if I'm off a Reed, that means you play him. That's how it works. But yeah, you just got pretty good golfers. I mean, Adam Scott, what's he gonna do after missing that putt to win last week? Like, that was kind of out of nowhere with both him and Kisner in the mix. We just hadn't seen it from Scott for a while now. So Noto, your thoughts on this 8K range? And we've even got guys like Connors and Finau in here too.
Yeah, I love Paul Casey because I always love Paul Casey. He's just so consistent. I know the putting can be erratic, but he's not like a Keegan Bradley, somebody that bad. I mean, he's slightly below average. So I like Casey quite a bit. Doesn't look like his ownership is going to be as high as I thought it would be. And then in the bottom range, I really like Tony Finau. He's been in bad form, but if you think of longer courses, stacked fields, bent grass greens, that kind of screams Tony Finau. T30 here in 2019. And for the longest time, I mean, he's been in this price range and he's 30% owned automatically. And now we get him at a pretty good discount here. And somebody in the chat mentioned, the baby swag, but I think this is like his 14th baby or something. So I don't know if it counts. Does it decline the baby swag after each baby? I don't know how that works.
Who is this?
Finau.
Stop it. There's no way he has that many kids.
It's up there. I don't know if it's cracked double digits yet, but it's getting close.
I had no idea he had that many kids. That can't be correct.
I mean,
I don't think he has 14 kids.
I think it's like 8.
He doesn't have 8 kids.
He doesn't have 8 kids. They have, unless he's got kids with other women, it seems like he and his wife have 5 kids.
Well,
either way, I guess. Are you asking if the law of diminishing returns kicks in with the baby swag, whether it's 5 or 4?
I thought he was trying to catch up to Phillip Rivers.
He's got a long way. Him or Antonio Cromartie got a long way to go. It says that Tony and Elena have 4 kids, and this was from April of 21, so this would be number 5. That's what it says. Anyway.
Okay, so the diminishing returns is going to be better than I was expecting.
Because
if it's 5. The 5th, yeah.
I've played him a lot over the last couple months, and I don't know, it hasn't been his usual stuff. I think I'm a little burned out on him, but that's not a reason not to play him because I'm burned out on him, but I don't know, the game has just seemed a little off, and I can't really think of a better way to describe it. He just doesn't seem as locked in as usual, but he's still 34th at the St. Jude, 28th at the 3M, 15th at the Open. So, it's been okay. He hasn't had a top 10 since the PGA back in May. And I've probably rostered him every week that he's played since then. So, I think I prefer maybe Neiman there at 8,100, still with just a 1 missed cut all year. His last 2 starts, 10th and 17th, was second at the Rocket Mortgage. They're back on 4th of July weekend. So at least a little bit more in terms of recent form. And I know Noto and I like him a good bit. I'll pivot over to let Wiley talk about this range in a second, but probably a good spot to drop in our prize picks segment. You can sign up for prize picks either online at prizepicks.com or download their app. Use promo code Grinders. We'll get you 100% deposit match on your first deposit up to $100. So it's $100 in free money. And you can, we usually do a little finishing position picks over there. And last week, I told Noto he had to take an over because he doesn't like taking the overs on the projected finishing positions. He doesn't like rooting for golfers to do poorly, but I made him take one. So he took Justin Rose, and then Rose on Sunday afternoon had a chance for a while there to get into that playoff. So Noto said no more overs. So he is throwing out a trio of Spieth, Casey, and Neiman under their respective finishing positions. 15.5 for Spieth, 23.5 for Casey, 39.5 for Neiman. I agree on Neiman. I think that number is way too high. And also I like Scheffler, so I went under 23.5 on him and over on Bryson to at least have one over in the mix. But whether you like betting the overs or the unders, there's all sorts of different sports, and there's all sorts of different golf props too. You can do, over under distance on longest drive. And things of that nature. So check that out at Prize Picks. They've really kind of overhauled their user interface, and it's pretty cool. So check it out either on the web or on the app. All right, go back to Wiley here and talk about this 8K range. What do you stand on some of these guys?
Your promo code's Grinders.
Promo code Grinders, $100 free on a $100 deposit.
Oh, with the eyebrow raise.
Hell yeah. Oh, sorry. All right, 8,000. Here we go. Let's start from the bottom up. Neiman. Does he ever miss a cut? No. Does he make a ton of birdies? Yes. Did Bones say that he's, in his opinion, not statistically, but in his opinion, has one of the best around the green games on tour? I'll take Bones at his word. 8.1 for Neiman seems like a steal, absolute steal. I think this range is full of great players. Casey, probably over-owned again. Reed, one here. Sub 10% projected, that's insane if you can get it. Cam Smith, same thing. If you want to do a comp course, even a Riviera, a guy who plays is a great iron player, great around the green player, and a good putter. Cam Smith at that price. Adam Scott, history, played last week, minus the playoff putt. Another great price. But the player of this range, and perhaps the player of the field, you know what I'm going to say, is the big Tongan. You say he has 14 kids.
Yes.
I don't care if he has 140 kids. Sub 10% Tony Finau. He has some of the best hands on tour. At the green, around the green, he's so underrated. He's a beautiful man. He hits he hits so far. He does nothing wrong. He's going to win at some point, and by God, I'm going to be on that train. I love everything in this
train
range,
already
except
crashed
for
for
Harris
me.
English. What?
The train already crashed for me. I ran out of gas, ran out of steam, ran out of whatever locomotive power.
Dollars.
You play Harris English. You play Harris English with Scotty Scheffler, and I'll play Finau.
I'm not going to play.
DJ.
I'm not going to play English. I'll play Scheffler because he shows up at every one of these big events. But I mean, I don't need to be swayed too much into playing Finau. I'll probably play some freaking Finau.
All right.
But it's never ended well. So we'll see. Maybe this is the
Can you imagine? Let's just pause here. Can you imagine what would happen to me if Tony Finau won and I wasn't on him?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
I mean,
he's 60-1. He's 60-1.
Finau would probably celebrate by having another kid in your honor. Because
I'd have a kid with him. Promo code Grinders.
We need to cut that.
Go to sevens. Go to sevens. We're running out of time.
No, we got nothing but time. All right. We've been a little short the last couple weeks, so we gave the people some time back. All right. I'm just that got me a little frazzled there. I wasn't expecting the promo code to come back. All right, let's move into the 7Ks. That's fantastic. Promo code Grinders.
Hang on.
You get $100 on 100% deposit bonus there on Prize Picks. Also, while I'm at the promos, you can get 10% off your first month of Rotogrinders Premium. Check us out, rotogrinders.com, and Devin will drop the link there in the chat. No promo code needed. Use that link, get 10% off $10 off. Excuse me, $10 off your first month. You can do single sport. You can pick your sports. You can do the combo package. You can build it however you want it. That is Rotogrinders Premium. And we will give away a free week at the end of the show with our guest, the golfer segment, who is guaranteed going to do better than Norlander did last week. So we'll get to that in a minute. All right, let's move on to the 7Ks. Put Wiley back in timeout for a minute. I'll go back to Noto. We've got last week's winner.
No!
We got to make sure that Wiley keeps stays in solitary confinement there for a few minutes. We got Kisner at 7,900. Who knows, where he's going to go from here. He said he thinks things are trending obviously in the right direction. And he's not going to be that highly owned this week, but we've got the usual kind of DFS darlings and Fitzpatrick and Hatton and Sungjae and Jason Kokrak right behind him. So, and your boy, Brian Harmon. So where are you looking at in the kind of mid to upper 7Ks there?
Yeah, not going to be playing Brian Harmon. I don't know. I made some adjustments to my model and now it hates him. So maybe there was an error in all those Brian Harmon takes over the years. I don't know. But he hasn't been in the best of form. I think he missed his cut last time out. I like Jason Kokrak to bounce back. I know he missed a cut last week, but he's got a couple good finishes here. Really long off the tee, turned into one of the better putters on the PGA Tour. I think Hatton is underpriced again. We talked about him at the WGC, just felt like he was too cheap. Kind of feels that same way again. I think he's still like top 15 in the world. And then I'll probably go down with the ship with this one, but Keegan Bradley, he likes playing in the Northeast from Boston. And one of the better ball strikers, one of the better guys, similar to Finau, has an underrated short game around the green. Definitely not on the green, but I don't mind taking some shots there. And shout out to Ron, PJ Splits 101 on Twitter. He did the, compared baseline on strokes gained putting total to the bent grass, and he was like 15th in the model. So instead of losing 10 strokes putting, he'll lose like 6 this week.
That's an improvement, right? Can't miss with that. So, all right. Still pretty good names in here. Not what we're used to playing in some of these birdie fests where you're getting Ryan Armours and the Roger Sloans and the 7Ks, but he's getting Fitzpatrick and Hatton and him and Kokrak in here. I agree on Kokrak, but the people are sharp. They're not going to just jump ship. So he's still going to have some ownership, but worry a little bit about Henley after that Sunday round last week and not being able to close that tournament out. But still, some interesting names in here. I'll probably have exposure to 3 or 4 of these guys in GPP. So, all right, Wiley, what are you looking at in the 75, 7,900 range?
I never get Harmon right ever. So I'm done with Harmon. Full divorce from Brian Harmon. I'm sorry. The one, I got 3. I think I have 3. Yes. Lowry, number 1. Lowry, 7.5, good ownership. Win narrative, good iron player, immaculate around the greens, just all around good guy. And I like Lowry to fill out lineups in the mid 7s, in the lower 7s. Who do I like? Pop at me. Oh yeah, mid 7s again. Kevin Na. Kevin Na is a really great long iron player, and again, like Finau, maybe a little less than Finau around the green. Very, very good. He almost won last week. Kevin Na's been playing great. I like Kevin Na, and I can't quit Charlie Hoffman. Charlie Hoffman had a really, really good earlier season. Charlie Hoffman is a very, very good long iron player. He's a good, accurate driver of the ball. And I just think that 7K if he's going to make your lineups work, I think that's a good price for him. I mean, there's a lot of good names in here, but I kind of like Hoffman a lot. I can't play Stuart Sink anymore, ever. Gary Woodland burns me too much. Hoffman's my guy.
I kind of like Streelman, as Noto mentioned. He was right there potentially to be in that playoff last week. Bogeyed the last hole, but he was pretty solid all 4 rounds. So Streelman at 7,400. That's a name I'll throw in there. Seems like he's getting a little bit of buzz, but I don't mind him at that salary. Johnny Vegas looks like he's going to get some ownership. Wiley mentioned a few guys there. So Noto, as we kind of move down to the bottom end of that 7K range, who are you looking at in there?
Yeah, I like the Streelman call quite a bit. Good ball striker. Decent enough around the greens, especially lately. I like Johnny Vegas, so just eating all the chalk here. But if you look at his numbers, for the longest time, great off the tee, bad iron player. And the last 5 events, he's gained at least 2 strokes on approach in every one of those events. So I think his game's trending. I think he's got 4 top 20s in a row. And he had a T38 here in 2019. So seems like a lot's kind of lining up for Johnny Vegas. I like Tringali. Somebody mentioned him in the chat. Just one of those guys that typically gets a lot of ownership because the stats look good, but doesn't look like he's going to be too popular this week. We have him around 10%, so I don't hate that. And then I'm going to play Jason Day. I have a Jason Day problem. If you play 10% of him, it'll work out every few weeks, I think. He just pops up.
Great sales
he
pitch.
Misses a ton of cuts. Don't play him in your single entry, obviously, but MME, I don't hate him.
Can I say something about how you pronounce Vegas?
I've heard of Vegas before. I don't know.
It's Vegas.
That's what I thought. I remember the first time I came on your pod and I pronounced it Leishman.
Yes.
Yeah. We can add this.
We still don't know if it's Seifert or Seifert, but he stinks now, so nobody cares. Vegas. I read something today.
You should just stop there. I've read something.
I read something
and then
today.
Move on.
Yeah. No, it was I don't know, something along the lines of mispronouncing a name is taken generally as a sign of stupidity, but it's actually a sign of intelligence because it means that you actually read it somewhere as opposed to just hearing it and passing it along from someone else. So you can pass it off as intelligence, mispronouncing a name. But I hear it's weird, all over the place. In some sports you hear 5 different announcers pronounce a guy's name 5 different ways. So Vegas, Johnny V, whatever you want to call him, he's actually been playing pretty well lately. All right. Let's go ahead and move. Anything else above 7K? Wiley, you got anything else above 7K?
No, day scares me, of course. There's a lot you can play above there, but
yeah, no day for me either. We'll let Noto captain that ship. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move into the value range, and good time to throw out our guess the golfer game. Lots of 6K golfers this week. Wiley and Noto picked our guess the golfer this week. I was not involved, so no blame to me when the guess the golfer withdraws, like Norlander did last week. I had a say in that one. So they'll Wiley and Noto will captain the guess the golfer ship this week. So go ahead and drop your guesses. Probably not going to be an overly chalky play this week, so maybe we'll drop a hint. He's not, let's see, I'm thinking of a hint that he's not American nationality as far as the flag next to his name on the leaderboard. So that'll knock out a few of them. Not American. We'll see where that leads before we give any other hints. For our guess the golfer free week of Rotogrinders Premium, limit yourself. We'll say two guesses.
Already got a winner.
We already got a winner. That didn't take long. Took a long time last week. It was like the third guess. How about that?
Harry B.
I think he's won before.
Dirty Harry.
Congrats. All right. Well, now we're not restricted to who we can talk about. Wiley, who you like for punts this week?
That, like Harry said it. It's Matt Wallace from England. He's a very good player. Did I say his name right?
Yes.
Wallace.
Perfect.
Okay.
Wallace is perfect.
Wallace. I just think, listen, it's his third win. Good God, Harry. Banned from the show. No,
He's got to catch up to Tony Finau's kids.
Right.
12 more to go.
I think that listen, in a tournament like this, what did someone say? Did you read this? Noto, that this is the strongest field ever in any event in the history of golf, if it stands at his way it is right now. So if that's the case, there's not a lot down here, God love them, that can compete with the caliber of players in this field. So it's gonna, if you want to play these high end guys like a DJ, you're gonna have to have a good mix, and perhaps one guy in the mid sixes. And I think Matt Wallace, he's really talented, and he's a good ball striker. He's good around the green. He's extremely competitive. Not like they all aren't, but Matt Wallace, he just really stood out to me at 6.5. And then, EVR has been playing great, but he can go up and down at times. He played good at the Barracuda. He played well last week. He won the Barracuda. And then Mackenzie Hughes. Mackenzie Hughes is extremely crafty around the green. I don't think anyone makes long putts, bombs like Mackenzie Hughes. And I thought that was a pretty good price at 6.7 for him. Ownership at all these levels seems extremely good. So it's just pick your poison, right? For me, Wallace stands out the most. That's where I'm going.
I'll throw Lebioda in there whenever I don't play him.
Okay, can we talk about Lebioda? Lebioda killed me last week. And so I was looking at it today and I thought, okay, historically, when someone kills you, you jump off next week and he wins. So do you go back? And I agree. I think Lebioda, if this had been any other week except for last week that burned everyone, that Lebioda is what, 6.3? He's been consistently high sevens, low eights, justifiably so.
What, he was like the chalk the 1 week at $8,000 some odd dollars.
Yes, that is a hell of a deal.
I talked Noto into him last week. It worked out great.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, maybe
I just think that he's struggling with some stuff off the course that perhaps is influencing his game somewhat. But at 6.3, I thought any other week, this price just stands out the absolute most.
Yeah, it does. I'm not going to bang the drum too hard because it didn't work last week, but the price tag is pretty cheap. So, all right, Noto, who are you looking at in here?
And chat's on fire tonight. Matt Wallace, WD at 6 a.m. That's definitely going to happen again. And Harry B wants my hat. So I would send him a show worn hat just for you, Harry, for getting the guest a golfer. But yeah, I like Wallace. He just doesn't really have a weakness in his game. One of those guys, he can gain strokes pretty much everywhere. And you can't say that about many of these guys down here. The rest of it, I mean, it's really ugly. I know the Stars and Scrubs build will want to get down here. I know we're going to have more golfers make the cut than usual since there's only 125 in the field, but I really don't love a lot. I mean, I'll have a couple shares of Taylor Gooch, Wiley's boy, after he played so well last week. He actually gained like 3.4 strokes ball striking. It was just all off the short game. So I'll go back there.
Stop it.
You just said you had to go back to Leviota after he didn't treat you well. So you got to go back to Gooch.
Gooch is an awful person.
And then Luke List, I have some interest there. Tends to play the difficult course as well. Tends to play the longer course as well. And similar to Keegan, I'm just taking that stance. I'm taking a chance on bad putters and hoping that they don't lose me 10 strokes this week.
All right. Noto's going back to the norm after, going with some of the good putters last week. That just it wasn't comfortable, right? It's like picking that over on that finishing position.
Doesn't feel right.
All right. Last 50 rounds. Doug Gim, 27th in this field in strokes gained on approach, 117th in putting. So there you go. Doug Gim at 6,200. There's another cheap name. And I think we've hit on most of them. Was
Question
any
about
reason
Corey Connors?
Yeah.
See,
Corey Connors has not been very Corey Connors-y, and he's just going to be buried in that low eights, that really highly attractive range, right beside Finau. And I mean, Neiman, Connors, Finau is a great group of players to play. To me.
And for what it's worth, it was a back injury for Norlander last week. So what's that?
Is he in the field?
Yes.
Yes, he is. He's at 6.3, I think.
If you're really, really feeling frisky after the withdrawal last week, when he was probably gonna be about 8-9% owned, he's gonna be like a 1%er this week. We don't get great injury reporting, so who knows? It could have very well just been he knew he was in the playoffs and he just wanted to rest it. But
was that a hiccup?
Yeah, it was a hiccup. It was very, very fortunate that it was not super loud. It was a great save, to be honest.
Bringing it up.
It was a fantastic save. It could have been really bad. I don't know. It was like a singular hiccup though. Like it doesn't feel like I've got multiple hiccups on the way. We'll see. This has been an intriguing show tonight. We'll see if anyone comments that Wiley, the special guest, showed up this time. In any case, we appreciate Wiley coming on. We appreciate all the back and forth in the chat. It was a lot of fun. Noto, you got anybody else or anything to add before we dart out of here?
I Googled the pronunciation of Johnny Vegas, and yes, I was very wrong on that pronunciation.
That's all right. That's all right. It's a sign of intelligence. That's what they say. Wiley, anybody or anything else to add before we get out of here, or you want to drop a promo code or let the people know where they can find you since you are a special guest this week?
I don't have anything. I mean, promo code Grinders. Let's just keep hitting on that.
Promo code Grinders get you $100 on Prize Picks. Or the link in the chat to get
make a kid with Tony Finau.
$10 off your first month.
15th kid.
Premium.
Sorry.
Finau's got 16 kids now. It's just gotten out of control. But you can follow Wiley on Twitter at Wiley77. Check out his Golflandia podcast somewhere around episode 197 or so right now. Yep. So 200 will be coming soon. So congrats on that achievement.
Thank you. I'll make a cake for myself.
It'd be that cake from The Simpsons that says "At least you tried," and Bart throwing it in the garbage. That's one of my favorite gifts from the Simpsons. But in any case, in all sincerity, congrats. It's a lot of podcasts, and it's always good to have you on as a guest. So for Noto and Wiley and our producer Devin enjoying the laughs behind the scenes, I'm Justin. Good luck this week, everybody. We'll be back next week for the second event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. We'll be the top 70 golfers for that week. So we'll be back next week. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you later.